afternoon, everyone. How's it going?
Good afternoon.
Good.
It's good. I'm Lawrence, and today we're going to be working on solving two-step equations. All right, so two-step equations are super important. They're the fundamental basis of algebra, and going forward, you're going to need to know how to do these. You'll see why I call them two steps. So first, we'll take the example, 2x plus 5 equals 21. You guys want to write that down?
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so here we have 2 times an x variable plus 5 equals 21. Question?
What does the x variable represent?
Perfect. So the x variable actually represents the number you need to multiply by to get the answer. So 2 times what number plus 5 equals 21. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So what you're going to want to do is find a way to isolate just this number, because that's what we're solving for. Like in an example like 1 plus 1 equals 2, like you know that 2 is your solution. So in the same thing here, what you're going to want to do is isolate this to figure out what it is. And you do that by doing the opposite operation. Yeah?
What does that mean?
Okay, sorry. So basically, what you're going to want to do is, because it's a plus 5 on this side, what you're going to want to do is subtract 5 from both sides.
Oh.
So here, the next step is you go minus 5, minus 5. And you get 2x equals 16. Does everybody see how we did that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We took the 5 and the opposite, addition is opposite of subtraction, multiplication is opposite of division, and vice versa. And that's what we're going to be using primarily to do all these problems, right? So now we have 2x equals 16, right? So this is 2 times what number equals 16. So now, because that's multiplication, what you're going to do to get x is divide, right? So now what you're going to do is you're going to take both sides and divide it by 2. Does everyone understand? Cool.
Yes.
Right? And the most important thing in these kind of problems is whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. So we subtracted 5 from this side, we subtract 5 from that side. We divide 2 by this from this side, we'll do the same thing on the other side, right? And then we get x equals 8. Right? And okay, we got the answer. So now the most important thing, and the thing that's super nice about algebra, is you can actually plug your answer back in. So we can take this and plug it back in here. That's the super nice thing. If you're ever unsure about your answer, not sure, just plug it back in, right? So let's see. So we have 2 times 8 plus 5 equals 21. PEMDAS. So 2 times 8 is 16 plus 5 equals 21. That's a true statement. 16 plus 5 equals 21. All right. Question?
So why do you divide by 2 again? I missed that.
No, sure. Because the whole point of isolating the x is that because it's multiplication here, you have to divide by the coefficient, which is the number in front of x. Because this is the coefficient, and this is like the remainder. So what you want to do is divide by your coefficients and subtract or add off your remainders, depending on what the sign is. So if it's like plus 5, you're going to want to do the opposite. And the same thing with dividing by 2, because it's multiplying by 2, you're going to want to divide the coefficient by 2 to get just x.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right. And now we'll try another example. So another example I have planned out for you guys today is negative 3x minus 8 equals 20. So you guys want to copy this down? Negative 3x minus 8
This one was hard.
equals 20. This one is actually a little tough. All right. Does anyone want to take a guess as what the first step could be?
Isolate the x.
Yes. Which one do you want to do? Do you want to try and get rid of this 8 or the negative 3? Which one do you think would be best?
Maybe the negative 3.
Yes, but just for the purpose of these problems and the fact that generally people tend to struggle with multiplication and division as opposed to addition and subtraction, I think it's a really good idea if we do the 8 first. Does that make sense? That's a good rule. Just always start with like the basic addition subtraction before dividing. So here, what are we going to do to both sides? Yeah?
Subtract it
Not quite.
by 3.
You're going to want to add 8 to both sides.
Add it.
Because whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side.
Okay.
So you have negative 3x still, but it's plus 8 to this side and plus 8 to that side, right? Equals 28. All right, so it's the same thing as that problem, right? So far, we
I
isolated
have a
it.
question.
Yeah.
8, negative 8 plus 8 will cancel each other out?
Here,
Yeah.
yes, because the whole point of that is that it'd be 3x plus 0,
Oh,
and so there's nothing there, so you don't have to write it.
good.
Exactly. All right, and then does anyone want to take a guess as to what the next step is?
You have to divide it.
Yes. Do you want to divide by 3 or negative 3? What do you guys think?
Negative
Negative,
3.
negative 3.
Negative 3. Exactly. You just want to get x by itself. Perfect. Right? And so wherever we do this side, we have to do that side. So it's going to be x equals negative 28 over 3. Right? What you can actually do is you can actually reduce this to be a mixed number. Right? So it's negative 9 and 1/3. Not all your answers are going to come out clean. Sometimes they'll get whole numbers, sometimes they'll get fractions. It gets really complicated. You can get plus or minus, but for now, this is just the answer. Does everyone have any questions? Alright, cool. As you guys may have known earlier, I devised an abbreviation. I call it Envision. Do you guys remember writing it down before class?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Do you want to tell me what the E stands for?
E stands for evaluate the problem.
Perfect. So, you just take into account what's on one side, what's on the other. Exactly. Next step.
Next, plan your step.
Exactly. So you're going to need to add 5 to both sides, subtract, divide. Just always plan. Have a plan. Don't just freak out when you see a problem. Understand what each variable is doing. Like this is negative 3 times the number minus 8 is 20, right? So just plan your steps. Next step.
Very carefully understand the variables L.
Exactly. So understand, exactly, like I said earlier, just understand what's happening, what you're going to need to do to both sides. You're going to need to divide by negative 3, add 8. Exactly.
The I stands for isolate the variable.
Exactly. That's what we're doing here. We're isolating it just to get x by itself. And then we can plug it back in and check. There we go.
Solve the problem.
Exactly. So do your arithmetic, add 8, divide, do whatever you need to do. But that's the main premise of the problem.
Inquire about your answer.
Right. So if you get an answer that's like this answer at first may seem a bit gnarly because plugging it back in wouldn't be fun. But always just make sure your answer makes sense. Like if you have this, like if you're getting like negative 50 or a ridiculous answer, just make sure you understand your answer and that it makes sense. Like if you're in your head like, wait, how we're only dealing with positive numbers. Why do I have a negative number? You probably did something wrong. So always be a little skeptical about your answer. And then is there a next step?
Sorry. Oversee your steps.
Exactly. So once you're done, just like go through because algebra is really tough. Because on tests and quizzes, if one mistake, you're done. That's the thing. So you always have to just go through and double check your steps because one wrong step gets you a totally different answer.
And then plug the X back in and test it if it works.
Exactly. So just plug it back in, test if it works. Super nice about algebra. All right. So I hope you guys understand or at least know a little bit about solving two-step equations. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.